because there is another way. I know what it feels like to be a fraud. I know what it is to feel uncertain. I know what it is to be afraid. And I also know none of those feelings are my true reality. There is another way.
Set It Off Sunday.
So I want to read this passage from this book that I'm reading. It's called The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. This passage is kind of the epicenter of what our conversation will be today concerning Set It Off Sunday. So one of the greatest tragedies of modernity is the lack of the opportunity for men to become what they are, to do what they are bred to do, what their bodies want to do. They could be Plato's noble puppies, but they are chained to a stake in the ground, left to the madness of barking at shadows in the night, taunted by passing challenges left over unresolved and whose outcomes will forever be unknown. So this passage is powerful to me because when I was reading it, it raised a question in my mind, and the question was, as men, is technology and the ability for us to, obtain things easier, is that hurting us? I question this because I don't believe that we really understand as men what we're bred to do, and what we are bred to do is to succeed, to dominate, to conquer, to protect, and to provide. And this is not a masculinity thing. I mean, it's not a sexist thing. What this is it's the reality of what I believe men have inside and are losing. And the best way I can explain this is as a man, there are times where you go through this pause in life, or you go through this confusion, and you start developing anger or discomfort or frustration, and you can't pinpoint where that's coming from. That right there is coming from a man's inability to do what he's bred to do. We are conquerors. We need to compete. We need to continue to grow strong and develop our bodies and develop our minds and continue to get better every single day. And I think that technology today makes it more difficult as men to do that if we tell ourselves that story. And I don't think that every man is telling themselves this story. There are men out there that I see that are killing it every day. But if you are one of those guys that, on the outside you look like you're doing okay, but you're burning up on the inside, if you're one of those men that feel like you have way more to offer this world, that frustration may be coming from the fact that you are not challenging yourself and you don't really understand, what it is that makes you tick. And that's okay if you don't understand it. What's not okay is not doing something about it. And I believe there are a lot of men struggling internally inside, and they're not doing anything about it because pride and ego prevents you from asking for help. And I was that guy for a long time. Through my 20s, I made great money. I wasn't very good with the relationship stuff. I didn't respect women the right way, and I didn't really understand, what I really need. I didn't understand that I didn't know what I needed to know. And it wasn't until I started asking for help and I started reading books and I started seeking guidance, and I swallowed some of my ego and my pride that I began to move the needle. And I think it's super important that as men we have to get this in our brain that there are natural desires that are inside of us. There's an itch that has to be scratched, and if it's not scratched, it's going to drive us crazy. It's going to lead to depression. It's going to lead to drug abuse. It's going to lead to alcoholism. It's going to lead to poor relationships. It's going to lead to poor finances. And and it can be remedied easily. It really can, but it's going to take somebody from the outside looking in on your life and pointing out the holes. It's going to take, the right type of environment, companionship, and the right men to be around in order for you to develop what you need to develop to be the man that you want to be. I am by far where I want to be in life, but I know one thing that as I continue to do my research as to what it is to be a man, as I continue to surround myself with the right coaches and and start adding new practices to my life that kind of coincide with the development of a man, my life becomes better. It becomes fuller. It becomes richer. And these things are not hard to do. They're really not. They're not difficult as far as execution, but they are difficult as far as consistency. And we have a little joke over here. I'm on the East Coast. It's called East Coast mentality, where we're kind of impatient in the things that we want, and we want it to happen now. Better yet, we want it to happen yesterday, and that's not the way that it works. So, the point of all this rambling, the point of this passage is young men, old men, wherever you are, start understanding some of the core principles that are inside of you as a man, and start learning how to sharpen those. And it's not a difficult thing, but start doing your research. You can reach out to us, here at Cetrum, or it doesn't matter where you reach out. Just start doing your research and start figuring out, why do you feel the way you feel. I don't wish for any man to have that darkness and that anchor inside of their chest, and that the inability to move and to act. But until we start making some of the right decisions, and until we start, digging deep into our heritage and bringing back, some of our old practices, then that's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. Guys, listen, my name is Joshua Silva, and I'm missing my partner Lawrence right now, but I am ecstatic to have you guys in my life, and I am so appreciative of the support that we're getting off of what we're creating here. And all we want to do is help young men and help men grow and develop and create the lives that they want to create, and have inner peace, and be good role models, and be good to their families.